Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. We've got all the comrades in the chat today. We are making our inaugural trip from old world to new world. We are diving.
We're colonizing.
We're colonizing new world, which is basically what happens. I've got some thoughts on. I'm just going to be calling Mila Jovovich throughout the runtime. We're covering the abhorrent.
I don't remember a single
movie.
character's name. They're all fucking generic.
No, because it's.
Oh no, I remember two, but they died in the first like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I remember them by the actor.
Some thoughts.
So there's Ron
me
Perlman,
too.
There's Tip.
Yeah.
But yeah, say for me, it's just like it's Mila Jovovich, and I do remember they just call Tony Jaa Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah, he doesn't even have a name.
He doesn't. He's not even fit. He's the male lead, and he doesn't even get a name.
I mean, he doesn't even. All he says is chocolate.
Yeah. So I've got some thoughts about that.
Oh my god.
That we'll get to. But yeah, we are doing the absolutely abhorrent Monster Hunter movie today. We all punished ourselves and watched this flick for you.
This is
astounding.
Absolutely the worst thing we've watched for this podcast,
for sure.
Can you believe it came out in 2020? It feels like it was so like it was like a height of the pandemic release, and still managed to make $40 million. That's still losing $20 million.
Well, yeah, because at the height of the pandemic, people were just like, "Oh my god, give me a movie!"
Yeah,
like you got something for me to watch. You got the 5-hour.
This movie
Schneider
could have been
cut.
made. This movie could have been made in 2007 or 2020, like it was. And
I mean, the CG was
different. Yeah, maybe the CG.
There were some really funny ragdoll moments, though. If you watch the bodies that like the monsters were throwing around.
Oh yeah,
if you really focused on him, you could play some like yakety sax behind that.
I thought in terms of the effects, I thought like the two, because I guess we get 3 monster types. There are some other non-important ones. If anybody who's played the game, you get the stampeding ones. They're like the benign monsters that you can go around and genocide in the game for their parts that offer no threat. But there are 3 actual monsters. Yeah, there are 3 actual monster types that we see in the. I guess there's a 4th at the end, but I don't count that one because they never say what it is.
What's the third one?
So they've got the Diablos, the Rathalos at the end, and then it's the spider one, the weird spider one. That's got a weird name. It's got a weird name.
Yeah. Rathalos at least looked kind of cool.
That's what I was saying. Like I thought most of the big monsters actually looked pretty good.
Yes.
With the one exception of when they would do a close up on the Diablos' like eye and face area, it looked off. But otherwise, I thought
it wasn't terrible, like all around.
No, I thought that was one of the better effects. I thought the monsters were probably the best effects.
Nerskilus. That's the spider one.
Yeah.
I want to, before we like go into the details of it, Ben, you had pointed out how there's an hour and like 35-minute runtime, but it
on the
felt
dot,
like 4 hours.
Oh my god, I was like,
yes,
how's this movie
really
keep going?
The first like 45 minutes, maybe 55 minutes could have just been completely cut out. We could remake this movie with Mila Jovovich just like somehow randomly gets dropped in the new world. We didn't need this whole big thing with which I remember one of the names was, I think it was T.I. was Ranger. And I only remember that name because they kept
he's Link. He's Link.
One of them was Ranger, and they kept showing the dog tag, and I remember that.
But I think you're thinking of Marshall. They're all Rangers.
Yeah, they are Rangers.
Are Rangers. There's one who gets named Marshall, and you see his dog tags all the time.
Yeah,
that was what it is. But so regardless, forgetful, not memorable, and it was just
I agree with you 100%. That the first hour of this movie is the most generic, forgettable experience.
I would say. So hold on, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree. The first hour and 35 minutes of this movie have no purpose.
Hey, if you took that 35 minutes at the end and expanded it out, there was more Monster Hunter fights. It would have been a decent FX style movie. But they tried to make it Jarhead at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's
oh man, when they were singing along
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Bro.
Like I would never say that like Mila Jovovich is like, you know, a once in a generation acting talent, but like this was bad. This was bad.
No, this was terrible. And then like the
she
whole
was
montage,
not doing a lot of work here.
Once we get past the like actual jarhead military propaganda, and you get like the training montages with Hunter, and you know he's learning about chocolate. I thought all of a sudden we were in 10,000 BC with fucking Chukka. You know, like they're just making, you know, the Asian South Pacific character, whatever, who is like, you know, should be the main character of the story, is what like Monster Hunter is. It's, you know, Eastern culture kind of inspired, and you just make him like an illiterate that, you know, Ron Perlman could speak English, but Hunter can't for some reason.
I do feel like it was some. Speaking of Ron Perlman's character, if we're dropping that, I feel like there was so much of the problems of this movie, I think, come down to not that it was poorly written, poorly edited, which both are true.
Yes.
I think it was that shit got cut. I think it was it's all shit that just got cut. That they ran out of money.
Like to me that the military propaganda stuff at the beginning was backfilled in after, like the
it's like, oh no, we don't have we lost our funding, Pentagon, please come in and save us.
Oh, for sure. And they're like, okay, we need an hour of this, because
was again, that their condition for their PPP loan to finish the movie?
Yeah, probably. Like there was, you know, something going on, because that last 35 minutes, I'm sure they cut a lot of stuff. There was some good action that, you know, we'll get into, and you know the monsters were cool. You get introduced to the Palico, which is like a very, you know, pretty important character in Monster Hunter. You don't get introduced to them until fucking, you know, an hour and 20 minutes in.
Well, you don't have cats.
Not enough food, not enough Monster Hunter food.
You
like
know,
the cat chefs aren't cute enough. It's a fucking travesty.
Oh no, I kind of liked how they were meaner like that.
It's only one. You only saw the one, and I think he's in a specific character from Monster Hunter World. But it's like you see him making food once, and it's like really dark, so you can't actually see the food.
Yeah, because the whole Monster Hunter parts where they like actually are monster huntering is just super dark. Like,
not when you fight the Diablos or the Rathlos. Actually, that's not true.
But like the, you know, the other like just what would be at the fucking in the game, like at the
base,
the base. I forget what they call it. I don't know if they call it a base, but the camp or whatever was just, you know, like you said, super dark.
For me, what made this movie more enjoyable is once I put my headcanon in that Ron Perlman's character was the same character from Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I like
Hannibal Chow.
Yeah.
No, but so it was definitely a cut bit that like he was like, because they say something like, he says something like, oh, you're not the first person from your world.
Yeah.
He's from our world. You know, he's not a native to New World. And that, like, because he
also got he's pretty obvious.
He's never named. He's never named as that, but you see in the credits and like on IMDb, he's just called the Admiral. So he's another troop that got sucked into the portal.
Well,
like long ago.
I don't know if anyone got the sarcasm in my text yesterday of how I can't imagine this movie failing while isekaiing into a monster hunter, but I know none of you are true weeaboos. So an isekai is when a person from the regular world gets sucked into a fantasy world.
Usually by getting hit by a truck.
Yeah, or crushed by a vending machine.
Yeah, Truck-kun strikes again.
Just don't even understand why they had to make it that. Like,
well, I mean, so
that's how they tied in the military.
I have a little bit of insight here. I have a little bit of insight.
But I want to say before you get to the insight, I want to say there's a huge plot hole in that they're trying to find another group of troops. They find them
immediately.
They were fucking annihilated.
They got roasted. They literally got glassed. First thing they do.
They
got glassed.
As soon as they get the new area
shows up.
It was a commentary on the Reaper drone.
Oh, can we talk about how when the movie opens, it's like, you know, they're in their military convoy. I was like questioning, are they, because when you look at their Humvee, it doesn't have like, say, like just like the army symbol. it's like got another symbol. I'm like, are they a private military force? You know, there's this
would have been
like
a better angle if they were.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't quite sure. But then they so it's like it opens up and it is like, you know, our world, present day or whatever, and it just gives longitude and latitude instead of an actual location.
I didn't notice
And
that.
if you look it up, it's they're in like in or outside of Kabul, Afghanistan, is what it comes down to. So you know what these army chuds are really doing is you know, they're most likely on their way to protect some pedophile warlord and his opium crops.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were pulling out of Afghanistan at the time they were filming the movie, so.
But so why they
the scraps?
Supposedly, why they did the military thing, other than we know the reason why, again, is because the Pentagon gives them that sweet cash inflow. But Paul W.S. Anderson says that the story was primarily based on a crossover event from the games Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker with Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, in which a military squad briefly faced against monsters from the Monster Hunter series.
That's like grasping for straws. When you're calling it New World, you have a game called New World. Like you totally. That was an after the fact once they got the Pentagon money and we're like, we need a non imperialist.
But I just think it's so funny. They're just like, yeah, I really like the idea of the imagery of juxtaposing a man with a machine gun, in parentheses, Big Boss Snake, against the creatures of Monster Hunter. It's just like so fucking funny to me.
So Mila Jovovich is Big Boss.
Yeah, and Tony Jaa is somebody that I don't know from the Monster Hunter series.
Really,
I love the fact that Hunter just didn't speak English and just said chocolate and then like made up language.
I thought I was going crazy at first because I was like going in and out of like the kitchen and back and forth like eating while I was watching the movie. And every time I came back, I was like, he still hasn't said anything yet. Like this is
he's just speaking gibberish.
Yeah. Gibberish and chocolate?
Yeah, there's
chocolate.
There's a whole, I guess I'll drop it now. It's just like there's like a whole lot of problems with that part of the characterization. Just like there's this like racist infantilizing of you know, just this Asian character that you know, Mila is
like Tarzan,
is anglicizing him, you know, teaching him English, giving him chocolate. The guy's like fascinated by Velcro. Like that's
I mean, I don't blame him for that.
Admittedly, I've seen grown-ass men still fascinated by Velcro.
Yeah, I'm still fascinated by Velcro sometimes. That shit is...
Mike's got the Velcro shoes.
Yeah, man. Wear them to court, just like the landlord attorneys.
You know,
Mike pulls up on a Honda briefcase scooter with the Velcro shoes on to defend you at court. What do?
That's a winning lawyer right there. That's how you know.
But would you believe that this idea had been percolating in Paul W.S. Anderson's head since 2012?
No,
to be racist against the Asian people.
Sure.
I was gonna say, like, this movie makes me think he hates the source material.
He considered this a passion project.
I know.
He became a fan of the series when traveling around Japan and discovering it then, because we forget now that, you know, before basically Monster Hunter World
was the one that made it really big in the West.
Right. It's because like largely that it was not really released, you know, to great numbers in the West before that. So
it was kind of like
the last mainline one was a 3DS title. So it gives you an idea of like the target audience they were going for. Like very Japan centric.
But Anderson is, you know, one of the most prolific video game adaptation.
He's the guy.
Directors. Yeah, he's the guy.
I mean, part of me thinks he just likes dressing his wife up as different video game characters. It's kind of a kink for him.
Just doing professional level cosplay. Yeah.
Oh, is Mila his wife? I didn't realize
that's why she's like his leading lady.
Every
in every single film. But
that's some nepotism.
But Paul also has like, he's got a special relationship with Capcom, because let's not forget that his other like probably his most prominent series is the Resident Evil movies, which is another Capcom property,
which there are so many of.
Oh, speaking of Capcom, and this is a little bit off track, but I forget exactly what game it was, but a couple Capcom games that were originally released on the DS are now being ported to like Game Pass and PC and stuff. So I saw a bunch of articles complaining about, how Nintendo is just being a piece of shit and saying that they can't port stuff over from the DS. And we've obviously seen Luigi's Mansion 2, but we might be in an era of DS games coming over to single screens, which would be very cool.
So yeah, this idea for this movie has been percolating in his head for a while. While the military aspect may have, I think we can agree with, all tacked on later, he has always had this idea of this merging of worlds, or the cross between two worlds. Like originally, basically, he had the idea of like the universes colliding and like monsters from the Monster Hunter world, like basically invading Los Angeles, which maybe could have been kind of cool because, make it like a real kind of kaiju movie instead.
Then having a military response to that makes more sense, because like who else is going to respond when monsters get dropped into a U.S. city?
Yeah,
arguably
Pacific
a better
Rim did it
setup
better. Pacific Rim did it better, so
Yeah.
no reason to try to make a movie that's going to remind you of a much better movie. So I understand why.
Yeah, especially if you're going to have Ron Perlman in it.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he, there's so many more scenes with him that he had to go there and act for and blah blah blah, and then he gets like 5 minutes of screen time, but definitely got a fat paycheck for doing virtually nothing.
I mean, the reason you do that is so that you can put his name on the poster.
Oh, for sure.
So that people look and they're like, oh, look at the cast. We got Mila Jovovich and
so without explaining that he was one of the other military men like left there, it's another like racism in that he is like the leader of this group of
there are some other
white man.
There's at least one other white guy in from
sure.
New World. He's got red hair, but he gets fucking murked really fast.
But Ron
one of the things
like,
that they love to do in this movie that again struck me as this was shit for cuts. They had some like higher build actors. Say the only one that really speaks up other than T.I. is Megan Good. She's like the other lady ranger
who was like, "What? We need to leave. We're gonna die."
Typical woman. She's being hysterical.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they just made her a hysterical black woman.
But then they also have the other hunters part of the crew or whatever, and they will have these like establishing shots. It's most egregious for those hunters. They have like this establishing shot, like it's like, oh, we're gonna have a new cast of characters for you to get to know. Immediately get wiped out. Get wiped out. You get nothing. So it's just like this is all shit that was just left on the cutting room floor.
So much. Because they put an hour of fucking spiders and military men that were just like emptying their clips and then counting how much they had left. And
it was just
survivors.
But for me, it was just so funny how much T.I. was part of like the promotional material. It's like, oh, look, T.I.'s in this movie and he's in it for all of like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
he did have a very important role in those 10-15 minutes, keeping the crew together.
They just get murked, but then just get
he started singing the song about getting paid $100 and them taking back 99.
Decides to leave Mila Jovovich just dead, left for dead there.
Got it.
He's like, fuck it. Then he dies. Karma.
No pulse.
So this film is another one of these from the earliest sign this was going to be bad was when you first flip the movie on and you get the 10 or 11 different production companies.
So many. There were so many. Again.
That's how you know things are things are not going to be good. Things are not going to be good. The one that made me laugh out loud the most was seeing that Tencent, like I didn't even know Tencent had like an actual established studio wing. It wouldn't surprise me if they're major stakeholders in every other major Hollywood studio.
To
I
be
didn't know that
fair,
they had their own outfit.
Monster Hunter is pretty big in China.
But Tencent couldn't even save it in China. Did you guys read about the Chinese controversy? So like the Asian the Asian ranger was like the first guy to die also, but like from the military group. So this wasn't in any of the versions that we saw because they did a revisionism and cut this out of all
oh my God.
of all versions.
I didn't know this.
He makes some kind of joke and goes, "Look at my knees. What kind of knees are these? Chinese." And
beautiful. That would have made the movie 10 times better.
Chinese audiences thought they were doing a racism. Where like the actor had to backpedal and say like, no, the character says this line to proudly proclaim he's a Chinese soldier, not just his knees, but his arms, his head, his heart. But like, no, it couldn't save it. China pulled and banned the movie, censored it on state media. So like nobody could like look at it, and nope. So
it's always hilarious to me when you try to cater to China and then get banned there anyway.
Yeah.
President Xi said, "Fuck you." They didn't even let them release the updated version without it.
Right. No, they're like, nope, not doing that.
Fantastic.
One strike.
Back to Tencent though. they probably like it's basically probably a shadow company where they just have like one dude that runs it and then a bunch of money where he's just they're dumping the money into the production so that they could try to create some value at the end.
It's like probably some party functionary's shithead son.
Exactly
running it.
Exactly. Just here's a budget line with a shit ton of money, some guidelines of what we want to invest in and be part of production on. Here you go, have fun.
This is so fucking funny. So I mean, this movie only made somewhere around $40 million of a $60 million budget. That's not including marketing.
I guarantee part of that budget, at least 10 million, had to be just for 20 million for Ron Perlman and Mila Jovovich.
On its opening weekend, it couldn't even take over the second week holdover of the Crudes sequel.
Fantastic.
No,
beautiful.
not even the sequel. Oh no, it is the sequel. I thought it was the third.
Yeah.
I thought it was the third one. The third one. There's a third. There's a third Crudes.
Damn.
Hey man, Nicolas Cage is
cashing that paycheck, so I respect it.
That's fucking hilarious. This movie is bad, and I gotta say, before I'm sure we'll get into it, but it is a travesty to put Tony Jaa in your movie and not have him do at least one cool martial arts scene. Like
he had some like decent, like, I mean, they had a couple fights between them that was like kind of okay, but I'm like, how the fuck is Mila Jovovich keeping up with this guy when she's like so fucking injured,
about to be dead? Like,
because she's a Mary Sue. No,
but it's the power of the operator. Like your American operator is going to outclass any like effeminate martial artist.
They don't have meth.
They're not cool enough to stand up.
They're not doing gun katas every morning.
But speaking of prime operators, there's this one line in the opening where it's like we've already said how they're on their patrol, they're looking for Beta Squad. They are
the betas.
They're going out in outside of Afghanistan, and they see this like ominous storm front that's like just coming out of nowhere, and they're like, that was the last sign of where Beta Squad was headed. They made note of the same cloud formation or whatever, so we're headed in. And Mila Jovovich says something like, when we get across that threshold, things might get kinetic. and I was just literally, I was fucking
hooting
dying.
and hollering.
I was pointing at the screen. They said the thing. They did it. They're getting in a kinetic style situation. Strap in, folks. We're in for a good ride, and it did not disappoint from then on out. But so yeah, they get immediately zorped into New World, and they find Beta Squad. They got, again, another hilarious bit. They're just like what the fuck is this? It's glass. Why is there glass out here? It's it's just
Sand.
news to them. When sand gets hot enough, it turns to glass. They're like, how does how do you melt sand? I don't know.
The private militaries aren't taking our best.
It's not even like they were Marines that they're just chewing crayons, that they don't know that stuff. They were Rangers.
Napalm doesn't even burn this hot.
God.
Somebody did a war crime to us instead of the other way around. This will not stand.
You know what the funny part is? Napalm isn't it's not the heat of napalm. It's the fact that it doesn't go out.
It's sticky.
Yeah.
I'll give you something sticky.
No.
So the squad is basically just getting immediately murked by the Diablos. Oh, actually, no. I did forget the actual opening of the movie was actually a cool part. Because we start in New World. And it was actually a part that immediately got me. I'm like, okay, I dig this concept. We see it's just like this big galley wooden sailing ship, but instead of gliding over the ocean, it's sailing through fucking sand. It's sailing through the sand. So I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm absolutely here for it.
And that part was really cool. And like I said earlier, the whole fucking hour of the military part could have been 5 minutes where Mila
it should have just been straight in Monster Hunter World. There shouldn't have been any of the crossover bit. Like it's the
or if you're gonna do it, what you do the amnesia. You have them wake up in New World.
Yeah,
and you have the context clues of dog tags on or something like that.
Exactly. It's the pitfalls of every game adaptation where they think they've got to make it relatable to the everyman, and it's just like, yo, you'll make your fucking nut if you just go all in on just the game. You know, if you make it just the game,
45 minutes.
The sickos are going to come out.
Cats making dinner.
Yeah.
People would have fucking paid double to go to that 3 different times.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so dumb.
They would have Sound of Freedom'd it. They would have
AstroTurfed the ticket sales. Yeah.
But so again, that's that last 30 minutes was it was promising. If that last 30 minutes was what was fleshed out,
and then
for
it just
movie,
ends.
Monster Hunter.
I think that's mostly just because Rathalos is still pretty cool,
was pretty
regardless
cool,
yeah.
of. But I mean, that setting, that that they're actually hunting the monsters, that et cetera, all of that was what Monster Hunter is. That's what the movie should have been. At the base with the palicos.
There really is no story to a Monster Hunter game. It's you go out and hunt the fucking monsters and make cool new weapons.
I mean, the story is they're attacking your village, and you gotta
you gotta stop
destroy them.
Yeah.
And they could have done something similar here. It's it didn't
should
need
have been
to be
Max. Should have been
Jarhead.
Pacific Rim X Monster Hunter.
I would love that.
But so that was where we got the first actual teaser of the Diablos. It attacks the ship, and Tony Jaa's hunter gets separated from his crew. And then we cut to all the propaganda. The Pentagon's getting its money's worth here. The squad is just getting immediately marked because the Diablos shows up in the daytime. It's prowling the sands. It fucks them absolutely. I think 2 or 3. I think it's just the 2 from the little dune buggy, because they've got a Humvee and a little dune buggy.
Some dude gets straight up impaled.
Yeah, so one guy, it's it's the driver gets trapped. It's the proudly Chinese soldier tries to helps lift the thing off of him, so the driver gets free, but then the Diablos appears and swipes the thing and squashes the Chinese guy. I don't remember any of the squad's name, because again, they're not here long enough for it to matter. And then it's the driver guy who no, I think he was Australian. is
I
the
thought
one
there
who
was like a Hispanic coded guy, and if I remember correctly, T.I. made some like he and T.I. had some like joke that was like kind of racially like, you know, like a joke where you're in on the race humor when they were like in the Humvee. It may have been like
maybe there was something,
in
but
America
I
or
do
in
feel like there was like
Afghanistan.
one guy who had an accent slip that where it sounded
I mean,
like
I
he
could
was
have just
Australian.
picked up on the accent.
No, I'm saying for my bet, it's like I think there was a
Uh,
guy who his like was probably Australian in real life and had his accent slipped. But this, so it's like the driver gets rescued, but then gets impaled by the Diablo's
oh,
horn,
Marshall.
and then yeah,
Diego Bontana.
okay, so yeah,
That's
you
what I
were
was
right.
thinking.
But yeah, I think he has an accent slip in the actual
For sure, I'm
film,
sure.
and then they get driven into this cave where it then immediately cuts to nighttime. It was just blistering sun out, and then its next shot, it's like one of the worst again smash cuts. Is immediately it's dusk, and they're getting attacked by these fucking spider monsters, and like just as Mila Jovovich is giving this rousing and in reality absolutely cringe-worthy fucking inspirational dialogue. Just it gets a very funny, a very unintentionally funny aspect where she's giving this rousing speech and then just gets immediately stuck with the venomous stinger and just collapses. The rest of the squad freaks out.
It's very much like Samuel Jackson in Deep Blue Sea. At the very beginning of the movie, he's giving the heroic speech, and then a shark just jumps out of the water and eats him.
Yeah.
Before we move on, because I have it pulled up now, I'll give you the names of the jarheads.
I don't think I need to know this.
Yeah.
So T.I. is Link, Diego is Marshall, Megan Good is Dash, Josh Hellman is Steeler, the Chinese soldier, his name is Axe, and then there's another one named Aiden.
These could all have just been the character names from Doom.
I mean, they could have just used their real names. It's T.I., Megan Good, MC Jin.
So the Mila wakes up, you know, she's been webbed up by the fucking nasty little spider guys, and you know is trying to escape from the nest. All the rest of the crew is dead. You know, one of them had gotten just torn apart by a spider. Megan Good's character is just wrapped up and dead, but then T.I. pops up out of nowhere, and he's like, "Thank God you're alive." And as they're trying to escape together, I just had this in my notes, is just that T.I. needs to learn some fundamental OPSEC and stop screaming while trying to sneak around a monster nest. It's just like just yelling, just again some terrible acting. And you then find out that he's like got like spider eggs that have been implanted in his side, and then like they start to hatch, but then he just gets ripped apart again, and Mila is able to escape finally and is rescued / captured by Hunter, and they start their their tete-a-tete, where they're fighting each other multiple times. One gets the upper hand and knocks the other out and ties them up, then is able to cut the bindings, and they swap roles. But then they fight, and Hunter almost gets eaten by the spiders, and they realize they got to work together, and she pulls them out. They have an exchange of pleasantries and goods. He gives her water, she gives him chocolate. And he then just assumes that every word for food is chocolate from then on out.
I mean, he's not wrong.
You know what the crazy part there is? We've looked at this historically, and you're way more likely to cause damage to an indigenous population by quickly introducing like radically different
processed sugar
product to their.
Immediately gave that guy diabetes. He has an organic, natural diet, and just giving him highly processed. He had never seen that much
sugar in a single meal in his life.
Yeah, from Hershey, Pennsylvania, just immediately gave him type 2 diabetes.
Huge plot hole at this point in the fact that this bitch has Hershey's chocolate that is still rock hard after coming from Afghanistan and then fighting like the Diablo in this
again,
in a pocket too, no less.
Let's say that that's
Yes,
classic. That's part of like all standard, military ration shit. But it's like that they can give it to little kids and again to do it's part of the colonialism. It's part of the it's to engender themselves to
give them diabetes.
I mean, the real funny part there is that M&Ms were created for soldiers for that very reason.
So they won't melt. They won't melt. Yeah,
that's the whole marketing thing. Won't melt in your like only melts in your mouth or something like that. Won't melt in your hands.
The two team up and realize they got to work together to kill the Diablos that is still prowling the desert. It was one of the cooler bits of adaptation type material. Was very much akin to kind of obviously a dramatized version of the gameplay, but it's like they got to use a trap to trap the spider thing.
Arrows.
They craft poison arrows using its venom sac, exploiting elemental weaknesses.
I really
all sorts like that. So that was kind of cool.
The scenes where Hunter is shooting his bow and he's got the explosive
where he lights
arrows and he's like lighting them.
Thing, and
that was really cool to me.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a cool. That was like the only thing I like about this movie, where like those shots I thought were pretty cool.
We get a training montage of there's an exchange of cultures going on here. Mm-hmm. Things are meshing together, and she so apparently Mila played the game and chose her character's weapon set based off of what she liked the most in the game.
I dig that.
I'm like, that's based. That's cool.
Yeah. She had the two
twin, it's like twin daggers or something, twin blades and twin elemental blades.
And all the weapons looked very good. Like they really looked like Monster Hunter weapons.
The weapons, the armor and stuff all succeeded in terms of what it's
very well.
Like I saw another little bit. I had picked up on it when I was watching the film, but it was cool to see later that it was intentional. Paul wanted to make sure that one of the hunters was wearing a mixed matched armor set. So again, be a very meta bit of like, that's how a lot of times you're playing is like, I've only been able to upgrade my chest piece, and my waist piece is different. So that completely clashing armor sets is, I thought was a fun little touch. But they, using all those traps, using the poison arrow, they killed the Diablos in pretty cool fashion. Tony Jaa does have a cool scene. He comes flying down with the sword, lands it right in between its two top big horns, but then he gets knocked out, and Mila's got to use her grappling hook.
He gets knocked out there. He's dead. He's dead there if he's a regular human being.
But he's from the new world.
His organs exploded on impact.
Yeah, when you're from the new world, you've got a sturdier skeleton.
And you never know. Maybe that chocolate made him, superpowers instead of giving him diabetes and smallpox.
He was seeing everything in double time.
Yeah, because of the sugar rush. It was like giving him a fucking Adderall.
So this is honestly like we're at probably at least an hour, if not over an hour in terms of run time here. They put so much into this, and this is really kind of just set up, because then you can just feel like everything that's like act one.
Yeah.
And like everything else just gets fucking cut. They move on to like this kind of oasis area. They find some herbivore monsters that are no threat.
There's one thing that is an annoying loose end for me, and it's the fucking ring that she is carrying with her.
Oh yeah,
like she's carrying with her a wedding band, a male wedding band.
That's that's engraved on the inside that just says forever.
Yeah, but like there's not. You just see it. She looks at it twice longingly, and that's all there is. There's no payoff or anything.
Yeah, it's so weird
about that. It's just her
supposed to feel bad for her.
It gives her courage. It gives her courage to go into battle.
It's the incentive to get home, right? She's got something to fight for, something to get home to.
No, he's dead.
No,
he has his ring.
Dead.
Oh.
Yeah, I assumed he was dead.
She's actually got it better than most military people. Doesn't have to worry about coming home to new children.
Yeah, but it's reverse roles, so that doesn't happen as much. It's the women fucking over their military husbands.
Toes ain't loyal.
Yeah. All military wives know how to do is eat hot chip and cheat.
This is like the first real glance we get at this, the lovingly named Sky Tower, which is the thing that is apparently controlling the portals that have brought, that have connected the two worlds. That was when I saw it, I was just like, oh, it's the castle at Barad-dûr. I was like, I see. So like they see it in the distance, they realize that that's where they both need to go for different reasons, because obviously they still can't speak each other's language.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. That's all he know. So they gather some food. They're chilling by the campfire, eating some freshly cooked monster and drinking some homemade hooch. But then the Rathalos, the dragon, appears, sets the oasis on fire. They're about to die. They're about to get stampeded, but they get rescued by Ron Perlman and the gang. And oh my God, is Ron Perlman fucking swagged out to the extreme with that hair and mutton chops. The mutton absolutely chops wild blonde wig that's just out in this like crazy Einstein pattern, but then he's got huge fucking mutton chops. I just love how weird looking Ron Perlman is in general. And just like the
great characters.
Yeah, the boldness to dress him like that was just amazing. And he saves them. He's got this cool great axe, an elemental great axe that like has this fire pound attack, and they rescue them, but then he knocks out Mila Jovovich because again, they don't actually confirm this, but he's from our world. He knows what risk she poses. She's come to colonize New World, so it's like, don't think me yet. He fucking knocks her out. She wakes up in the brig on their sand ship. That's where we meet the cat chef. He's a pirate cat chef. Cool, love it. Wish there was more of that.
Should have been like 15 of them in that movie.
Yeah. And she is let out. She escapes, but then is also let out. Like, it's weird. The cuts are very odd.
The other hunters are like growling at her in the
one's like literally chirping at her.
Any actual character of them.
My internet is being a bit iffy, so Matt, in the editing process, if you see any noticeable gaps, make sure to close those out. So like the rest of this crew of hunters are being weirdos,
and again, there is like literally 20 minutes left in this movie at this point.
It's baffling. It's baffling. They're like doing this setup, like, oh, the Sky Tower was made by the ancients. One of my favorite tropes ever. I love the
ancients, elders, celestials,
showing them the flame of the ancients. And they, they're like, we have some. They don't really say why. There's like we're on a mission to go kill the Rathalos and figure out what the fuck is going on there. And she's just like, I just want to get home. But so they team up, they go there. You get the bit that like, oh yeah, Rathalos is the scariest monster. I mean, it's the flagship monster from the Monster Hunter series.
It's a dragon.
So it's a dragon.
It's a dragon.
Very like, cool dragon. It's only weak right before it breathes fire.
Which I don't even understand what that means. How it like is
it
building up weakness?
Did you not hold on?
It's
did
like
you
creating
not watch
like
on the Discovery Channel? There was you make fun of me for the mermaid ones, but there was also a dragons one that I watched in 6th grade and thought there was dragons, and they give the same theory. It's because they have like the hydrogen sacs in them that they got to build it up to light it on fire. So as they're building up that sack, if you hit it with some fucking fire, it's just gonna blow back into it like a fucking axe can. An axe can that the fucking gas goes back in when you're trying to make a flamethrower.
Not versed in dragon theoretical.
Yeah, well, you should have watched the Discovery Channel's. I don't know what it was called, Dance with Dragons, some shit like that. Dragons are real, man, just like mermaids.
So I guess really the hunters prerogative truly is they're trying to stop colonialism. They're like, we know the threat that you pose to our world, so we're trying to close that shit off. We've had enough of you already. So that's why they're going there. The fight at the tower lasts like 10 seconds because then she gets blasted into the portal and gets she's back into her world. She thinks she's rescued, but then the Rathalos has come through and she's got to fight. It just, again, absolutely murks an entire platoon of soldiers.
That was the best part of the movie.
It was kind of fun watching him shred helicopters.
Yeah, that was the best part of the movie. I really did like the just de-winging the plane. Very, very fun scene.
The reconnaissance plane. Yeah, that one was cool.
I mean,
because it was so funny because Mila just like pops up out of the wreckage of her own plane to see the fuselage of this thing, just like a missile come down right at her and just blow her back in slow-mo. It's
also dead.
So she died like 7 times. The helicopter crashing, no one's living through that. She's strapped to a stretcher. Like, how is she gonna live?
So she does I don't know what exactly it is that she launches she launches it. She uses her little grappling thing.
Yeah,
it's some little explosive charge, but it's kind of like a flare too. It burns like a flare, but it's some weird little cartridge.
I think it was just a flare. I do think it was just a flare gun.
I think it was just a
flare gun. It was a
flare gun cartridge. Not an actual flare. Not an actual flare.
Yeah,
because I remember she stuck her hand in the fire to light it and then launches it and shoots it, and so it sets off the chain explosion in the Rathalos. She thinks it's dead, but it gets back up. But then I will say again, a redeeming matter of the thing is that Tony Jaa Hunter gets his "I won't miss" moment, and
I said it.
Yeah, he's come through. He launches his last explosive arrow into the gap that has been created in the neck where the flame sack is, and kills the thing for good. And that was pretty sweet. But then
all the arrow shooting was good. But
the implications though at the end of the movie to me are that the US government are now going to take this corpse of a dragon
and study it,
and to go study and recreate it.
Yeah, in a lab. Yeah. So then
Mecha Rathalos.
Fucking Ron Perlman shows back up again and is just like there's another monster coming. He's preparing another attack. She just immediately decides, all right, we're going back through. We're going to fight it together. We're going to launch a counterattack. Movie ends.
Yeah,
just movie ends.
Perfect. It's perfect. I loved it.
Literally, just ends. That was probably the worst. Just like, oh no, we ran out of that Pentagon money. We finally ran out.
The budget ended right then and there, and they're like, well, can't animate
a short
anymore.
Runtime. Theoretically, they could have added.
This is a 2020 release, right? We're well into the era of 2-hour movies.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be at least another half hour, and it just got cut. They have
to fill in all that military shit to get the money. They do have a stinger.
They do have that stinger at the end where they just portal back in. You see them each kind of launch one singular attack, and then some weird hooded figure is looking at them, and the cat guy shows up, and that's it. And that's truly the end. But it's like there's no closure on what the fuck the Sky Tower is. Oh yeah, the magma. But that's the thing is, I don't think that's what they were doing. I really don't think that's what they were doing. I was like trying to analyze it, and it's like, no, this is not sequel bait. This was purely we have to try to close as many plot holes as we can, but there's simply not enough time and money to do so. So it's just literally it's done because there's nothing there.
Well, just let them think it's a sequel.
Yeah, there's no there for a sequel. It's just like, oh, we're going to investigate the secrets of Sky Tower in the sequel. That's nothing. That's not a thing. That's
apparently he's already writing the sequel though, according to Wikipedia.
But that was like before that was in post. That was before it released. He was
released to losing $20 million at the global box office.
That's further marketing shit. It's like, oh, you want to see that your favorite franchise become a movie franchise? Come out and see this one. Like, there was nothing there. But no, it was just like, I literally, again, I was hooting and hollering at that cut at the end. I'm just like, no way that it's just ending there. Just no fucking way that they're just done.
Perfect.
I mean, it worked for me because I was done. Yeah. I was done.
Oh, right, right. No, as I messaged to you guys, like, I was like, has it really only been an hour and a half? It like feels like I've been here all fucking afternoon.
I had to watch it in parts. Right when like an hour in, when the fucking Jarhead shit was kind of over, I had to pause and give myself a break.
Understandable. Highly understandable. All right, so that's it for the plot of this movie. We've covered a lot of the background stuff too. Yeah, this was good. This was a good episode though. So Andrew's got to get out of here. So let's just do our quick ratings. I got my notes open here, so I'll get our averages.
All right.
I could start us off. Go ahead, Andrew. Because you gotta go.
I'm gonna definitely stick around to hear what everyone else gives it. This is definitely the worst movie. I think this is the worst thing we've watched. It doesn't justify itself in any way. The story makes no sense. It's just not good. It's like a 2. It's a 2 for a movie for me. And then I'll give it a 3.5 for adaptation.
Okay,
so
next?
I'm going 3 and 3. 3 for a movie. Just it's shitty, and I don't think I could give it a 2. I think I'll reserve that for some like really doo-doo trash, because there were some like funny redeeming moments in this, and
so many moments that are unintentionally funny.
Yeah,
because then the actual jokes don't land. The actual jokes
are credit them for being unintentionally funny, because that's like making fun of someone for tripping.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then
classic comedy, folks. What do you want?
I would love to give it a higher adaptation rate because at the end they do like bring it home a bit, and like I don't know, like we've talked about, the weapons were pretty accurate, the armor, that like meta, the fact that the armor is mismatched.
She does a carve.
Yeah, she does do a carve. But I don't think I could give it higher than a 3, because the fucking first hour had nothing. They made the hunters fucking illiterate savages when they are a highly like civilized and cultured society in the games. But like I said, that last half hour moved it from like a 2 to a 3 in adaptation wise, but that's where I'm sticking.
So as a movie,
hit us with the low end. Let's go.
So as a movie, I'm giving this a 1. This is objectively the worst movie I've seen in the past 10 years. The only thing that might give it a run for its money, I was thinking, is Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh,
man,
yes.
Fuck me. So bad.
That was horrendous.
And I look and I'm like, well, similar pandemic era movie release. So like, there's that, but like absolutely the worst thing we've done for this podcast. Like I was developing, I wrote out a death note yesterday and included you guys' names in it because you made me watch this movie. I was riding high yesterday afternoon. I was doing some Armored Core. I was killing some fucking log missions. I was S-ranking some replays. And I sat down and watched this movie for an hour and a half, and then sat there and swirled whiskey and stared out over a dark field, contemplating the meaning of life and whether or not it was worth it. This was horrible. This was an awful movie. Adaptation, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to be nicer in the sense that there were monsters.
Yeah.
They were hunted.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if you're going to say there's a crossover event with Metal Gear Solid and Monster Hunter that this is related to, then sure, I give you an extra bonus point for an obscure reference that probably no one understood. But yeah, like, goddamn, never again. this is my turd of the year.
Yeah, I think I got to give it. I'm in general in movies, I'm much more forgiving. I am very much a popcorn brain movie enjoyer. Don't get me wrong, I love an art house movie. I love a more critically
The Zack Snyder
engaging.
Watchmen.
Yes, I do enjoy some highbrow, but I love me some lowbrow shit. I love just to turn the brain off and just
MacGruber was great.
I love to clap like a seal.
Yes.
Don't you besmirch MacGruber. I love that shit. I love it all the time. But just like the editing in this movie was just fucking baffling, utterly baffling.
What, you don't like not being able to keep track of where anyone is in a scene?
It's like I obviously I think Pentagon propaganda bad, right? But also I understand that basically no movie gets made nowadays without that sweet money. You're not getting to use the fucking imagery of a stealth plane, without paying out big time, letting the Pentagon take a red line to your fucking script. Yeah, that shit's bad, but like I'm
surprised that they let Rathalos take out the plane and didn't have the plane just fucking gun him down.
Yeah,
to end the movie.
It's like I don't find that to be a fault of the particular movie though. That's a fault of the industry, So like I don't take points off for that.
Yeah.
But it's just, and like I had enough moments where, again, I'm, whether intentional or not, I'm having a good time. I'm thinking shit's funny. Like I'm laughing, I'm pointing at the screen. There's plenty of those moments. But still, it's still so bad. It's such an empty film. The plotting is just monotonous, but also meandering and just has no sense of self. So I still can't give it higher than a 3.5. It's truly bad, truly the worst thing we've watched. No question about it. I would have said, yeah, I was entertained enough, but if I didn't have that feeling again, like, oh my God, I've been here for fucking ever, I maybe would have given it like a 5, but like with the editing and just the lack of real conclusion, not that like I want like that there's really anything to pay off, but it's just like it was these baffling choices. It's like, if you're going to cut out the actual ending, if you're making all these wild edits and cuts, cut out all the shit that like is intentional setup beforehand. Just cut that shit out too. Like we're not going to miss anything. Like it's just, again, baffling choices in that regard. So it gets hit a lot. I would have also given this a decent adaptation score, probably around a 5 or maybe even a 6, for all the reasons that Mike said. Mike and I have played the series the most now, and the monster designs were accurate and good. I think the effects were decent. The costuming was good and on point. The prop design, very good.
Really well done, to be honest.
They had enough references but then they're not like hitting you over the fucking head like this is a fucking reference type shit. So I will always give credit for that. But the forced mixing of worlds, just boop, immediate downgrade. Unnecessary. This could have just existed in the Monster Hunter world and would have been fun and would have been fine. You don't need to. It's because it's like, oh, this is like a new IP for Westerners. Essentially, we got to ease them into it with something that they know and are comforted by, which is the armed hand of imperialism. Complex. It's like that's their security blanket.
I still think they could have done that without focusing so much time on setting up that. Like I said earlier, like if you just have them wake up in New World, like, on the ground, a bit confused, maybe like a destroyed Humvee off to the side, or like, like
even
dog
have
tags,
the 5 minutes opening where they like drive into the storm and then just get zorped there. We just like didn't need all the other shit.
Well, I don't really like the storm. That looked really bad. That was one of
I
the worst
agree,
effects.
All right, so I am, all that is being said, I'm giving that also a 3.5 for my.
So we're pretty in line on adaptation score, and fairly our average will line up decent for the movie score.
Yeah, we're at a 2.25, 2.25 for the movie.
Mhm.
And then we are at, let's see, 3.5 for adaptation. 2.25 and 3.5. That seems
right.
seems fitting to me.
Yeah.
So this has a 44% tomato meter from the critics, but a 70%
astounding.
audience score.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Wow.
We've always said
Crazy.
Audiences are beautiful idiots. I will never criticize them for that. We're all big doo-doo brains. Never going to be surprised that. I'm surprised the critics liked it that much.
Yeah,
I'm astounded that the gap is not bigger. I'm surprised the gap isn't bigger.
It's definitely a product of the pandemic that was the rating from the critics.
Yeah, we had to be nice to movies in the pandemic because we didn't have anything.
We gotta say, or else movies are dead. If we don't like prop them up, if we don't grade on a serious curve, the cinema is dead.
I bet you for both those scores, you could at least knock 10% off. That's just attributed to the pandemic.
But they shouldn't have had. They should have had more faith in our Lord and Savior Tom Cruise to save cinema for us.
It admittedly is below Wonder Woman 1984.
Terrible. All right, but that's going to do it for us. Andrew's got to go, so we will wrap things up. Folks, thank you so much for suffering through this with us. This was actually a fun discussion. I was surprised that how much fun we had about the actual talking about this travesty.
It was just so bad.
Isn't the plan?
I have a Shikigami I need to go make an arrangement with, and need to get rid of the Death Note that I created. But
didn't we agree?
Okay.
Didn't we agree that next month's adaptation is going to be another Paul W.S. Anderson joint? And that we're going to do
Resident Evil.
We're going to do Resident Evil. All right. So we'll see.
We said
it was
the first one, right?
Yeah. There's too many. We're not gonna go through them.
You need to watch all 9 movies.
So that's where what we'll be doing for our next adaptation. It's spooky season.
I expect to be more positive on that one than I was on this one.
Yeah,
because I have nostalgia.
The effects will probably have aged poorly, but otherwise, it's
probably
be okay.
Not probably better than the effects in Monster Hunter,
maybe,
to be honest.
But yeah, so it's spooky season next week or next month, and I guess actually next week from time of recording. Be on the lookout. We're going to be doing Luigi's Mansion 3 and the first Resident Evil movie, and that, as well as our regular news episode. So be on the lookout for that coming to you in the near future. Until then, you can support us by following us on social media. We're basically at CampCompod everywhere. Leave a positive review on your favorite podcast app of choice, 5 stars only. And follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/campaign comrades. We will see.
Just so we're clear, if you leave a 4-star review, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater.
Yeah. We'll
write another Death Note.
Yeah, we will see you in the next one, though. Thank you so much. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.